No one wants to die of cancer. No one wants to die, period.
This is just a start for her.
She doesn't want to die.
I want you to know each one of you is an inspiration.
This is healing. This is healing.
And in a few months, we'll find out and see how you guys are doing.
He had to go to the restroom.
I think he's in 3. 8 days.
Today's episode features a man who took inspiration from his own story to bring hope into the lives of people who go through critical illnesses. A survivor of type 2 diabetes, this award-winning actor, director, producer, TV host, mental health advocate, celebrity chef, and more, continues to touch lives through his very successful documentary series, 8 Days. We're so proud to have with us the amazing Charles Mattocks.
Charles, first of all, thank you for joining me on Everything. I appreciate that you took the time to join us.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure and a privilege for us, and it's an honor. I've seen all of the footages, well, not all, because there's a lot of information about you.
Yeah.
I've watched your interviews, your stories, and you have so much work that you're doing, your mission, your goal, and there's so much to talk about you. And I go like, okay, what am I going to discuss with Charles? And then I saw your 8 days, which I know is an offshoot of Reversed. And I go like, I got to talk about 8 days.
Yeah.
You touched people's lives, and you're touching your viewers' lives, and the mental health is very close to our heart. And I'm sure the audience will be waiting to hear, like, let us know about 8 days.
Yeah, 8 days came from the birth of another show that I had that was called Reverse. Now, Reverse was, I've been a big diabetes advocate for years. And I while I was doing so many things with diabetes, I was realizing that there was a lack of information, education, and awareness in diabetes. So I thought, what's a great way that I could use to really get into people to reach the people, get into their homes to reach them. So I thought a television show, right? If you were able to bring 5 people together, put them in a house, bring all the experts that are in diabetes to help educate them. Inspiration is a big thing, and awareness. You could literally change the game, right? So I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to create this show. So we had a beautiful first season that we ended up putting together called Reverse. That took 5 people. We brought them to Jamaica. We brought in experts. We brought in therapists. It was amazing, and that aired on the Discovery Network. So with that, I realized that we had a really good template for this vehicle, because you could mix and match many different conditions with this series, because it's all about, once again, education, awareness, inspiration. So I realized that the word reverse at times, when we were dealing with potential sponsors and things, it would get a little pushback. So I said, you know what, I'm going to change that name because I don't want to come under, meet sponsors and they say, well, that name Reverse, we can't go with that. I mean, we can't reverse cancer. We can't reverse sickle cell. We can't reverse HIV. So I came up with 8 days because that's the time that we spend on the show. 8 days.
5 people, 8 days.
Yeah. 5 people, 8 days. Yeah.
And why 8 days?
A few different reasons. Number one, we don't have the big budgets as some of these other networks do or productions do. So we try to use every day. So since it was 10, the last 2 seasons have been 10 episodes. So we have an intro episode, which is the build up, which is number 1, first episode. Then we have the last episode, which is, kind of going back and seeing where everybody's at and telling their stories. So that's episode 10. So during the 8 days, now we're able to have 8 full days of actual people being in the house, and then the first episode and the last episode, which equals up to 10. Now, if we do 13 episodes, who knows? I mean, we may have to call it something else, but no, we'll still probably stick with 8 days. But that's pretty much the time that they spent in the house.
And I saw how much it impacted mental health, like,
Yeah.
you know, really now I'm thinking, now that you're saying that, I'm thinking that there's really, you can't really measure time when you're trying to help someone, because also on the other hand, if that person really wants to heal,
Mm.
he's not going to wait for longer than 8 days. If like
No.
I'm very sick and I need help, I need
Yeah.
help right now, and there you
Yeah.
are. Especially now, like we have the pandemic, and is there anything that you think people should remember right now, those who are going through mental health difficulties and their families around them?
Well, number one of the things with the show is that each series that we do, we have a strong focus on mental health. Because especially with diabetes, diabetes, it's really a lot of times it's internal as far as, the changes we make, how, especially with type 2 diabetes. Let me make that clear. And because it's called a lifestyle disease. So a lot of times the people with diabetes are the ones who are in control of their future in many ways, right? It's what you eat, it's how you exercise, what you drink. It's something that can be controlled if you do the right thing. But a lot of us don't do the right thing. A lot of us just believe that, we take a pill and that's it. We don't have to exercise. We don't have to change the way we eat. And we know that's not the case. So what do? We have to kind of sit down with them. So we have to kind of understand where they're at, why they're not making the changes that they need to make in their life, why they're not taking this killer of a disease serious. So we focus strongly on mental health and building that person's mental health. The second season that just went off the air about 2 months ago was called, of course, that's the first season of the 8 days. That's where we took the 5 people with cancer to Mexico, teamed up with Hope for Cancer, a beautiful treatment center out there. And of course, it was strong on mental health, right? Because, these people are dealing with something that literally can take their life. And from a caregiver, husband, wife, daughter, child perspective, from a treatment perspective, what are they dealing with? I mean, can you imagine waking up and knowing that you have, lung cancer and that you have to go and try to get this thing taken care of? I mean, how do you deal? How do you cope? So there was a strong push on mental health for that. Now, of course, what we're doing right now is a new season based on mental health with Dr. Denise, Carl Shalahorn, Mia St. John. We got Jarnell Stokes coming in from who we used to play in the NBA as a producer, and loads of other amazing people who are going to just be coming on board. But with the world being in this pandemic, we are all dealing with something, and I was, and not to keep running on, but even Friday, I had one of those days where I finished, my day up early, and it's at 4:00. And for the first time in a long time, I felt lonely. I mean, alone and lonely. And I'm like almost having like a panic attack because I'm like, dude, what am I going to do? I don't want to just sit around and watch Netflix and sit by myself and do nothing. And you can't go out anywhere per se. I mean, I can go walk, but I mean, I was lonely. And at that point, you don't need just a walk or, go sit in a coffee shop outside in a coffee shop. You need, companionship, a friend. And that's what a lot of people are dealing with right now. And on a major level, people are losing their jobs. People are hurting health wise. We're in a dark place right now. So a show like this is so needed. Literally is going to be a game changer for mental health.
It's almost like, okay, you want to be safe from the virus, you have to stay home. But then at a time when people who are already going through a lot of mental health struggle need people around them, and then they go isolate. You want to reach out to them, but virtually and by phone, they're not like in person, right?
No. I mean, I have a ton of conversations, on the phone. I have people I can call at any time and have, 2-hour conversations. But that doesn't do the trick when you're, like I said, when you're sitting here, by yourself and dealing with, whatever you're dealing with, and you need somebody to actually talk to and interact with and fill up your day. So it's going to be a powerful season. I think that, we're going to feature a few different forms of people living with mental health illness. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be a deep dive. I think that, just the whole conversation around mental health, I think from a treatment standpoint, from a resource standpoint, for a lot of people, there's not enough resources. I was talking to a
Mhm.
doctor the other day, and she said, Charles, I don't even really know where to send people, because you know what? There isn't enough resources, and people who don't have money, or the lack of money, where do they go? If I'm dealing with mental health issues and I only have, a couple of $100 in the bank, because I've lost my job or whatever the situation may be, I can't afford a therapist for $60,
Yeah.
or whoever amount it costs. So a lot of people don't get the treatment. That's why you see so many people who are, being arrested. I mean, there's children. I was talking to another Ruben the other day, who's a mental health expert, and he told me, he said, Charles, he said, no, that was somebody else, but he said, Charles, I deal with kids who are incarcerated, and a lot of them it's because of mental health issues. It's not just because they're bad kids. They're just dealing with things that they need treatment for. And then you see, I mean, how many celebrities are taking their life? We see that, there's a new documentary coming out soon on Robin Williams and what he was dealing with. We look at Anthony Bourdain, and him dealing with, I mean, this guy was on top of his career, living an amazing life, traveling the world, eating amazing food, making good money, and none of that was suffice. Mia St. John, who's going to be on the show, was a all-time star pro boxer, and her husband Christoph St. John, he succumbed to mental health issues, and her son, who was a young man, probably in his 20s, also succumbed to mental health issues, and she's dealing with her own things, and so that's going to be a story to tell, because she's still living proof of trying to survive, trying to make it out here.
If we look at it, like say a pie chart in terms of percentage, Charles, I was just thinking, there are resources, there's this person. How much percent of the entire pie chart do you think should a family be involved, like in the healing of a person who's going through mental health?
That's a good question. I mean, and I think because of the world we live in right now, families seem to be very splintered. You know, um, if I needed mental health help, I don't really have. My father passed a few years ago. My mother, she's sick. With some rare condition, this pain condition. My brother, he's doing his thing. So I wouldn't have any support as far as that. I wouldn't have anybody who could help me. And I think because of, once again, because of the way the world is, you look at divorce, the divorce rate is skyrocketing right now. I was
Yeah,
talking to my lawyer the other day, and they said, man, they're so busy right now because of COVID that
yeah.
everybody is now getting divorced. They have tripled their workload because of COVID. And guess people are starting to realize they don't like each other and they can't deal with each other. So, I think that it should play a large role, but with the world and everything way of being, and single parents being a big thing now, and to have husband and wife couples that actually take care of their responsibilities, and hold a tightly knit family. I don't think it's the percentage is where it should be. So sad to say.
Your show could not have come at a better time, and
Yeah.
I can see the people that you've invited on the show. I think they come from different demographics, right? And would that be probably one of the things you'll look at when you
Yeah.
consider who's coming to the show? They should represent a certain sector in the community, and then that way somebody from there can relate.
Yeah, even one of the things I was talking to today was with one of my partners, Robert Higgs, and we're looking at doing having a guest on that's dealing with a corporate or workplace mental health issue, because that's a big thing right now. They have a bunch of companies that are coming on board and popping up that focus solely on mental health issues in the workplace, right? Because people are stressed out, man, and they need the help. So we're looking at having someone who could represent someone who is dealing with that, I think, and having someone on that's dealing with a food disorder too as well. That's also, mental health related. Got a young lady out in the UK. Her name is Zoe. She's kind of reminds me of Amy Winehouse, a talented, beautiful singer. And she hasn't per se been diagnosed. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people who are dealing with mental health issues who have not been diagnosed. And while she does, you can, see that she's dealing with a lot of emotional issues. She needs somebody to talk to. She needs to be able to work through some stuff. So I think she represents a large population of people who are just like me or you, who, have our days and are dealing with family issues and some stuff that may be in the past that we don't even realize or do realize. And it's just this up and down, because sometimes when I talk to her, I can kind of, see a little bit of up and down. One day it's like this, the next day it's like that, next day it's like this. So yeah, she represents a great population of people dealing with mental health. And then of course, we'll probably obviously we'll grab another two. So we're going to make it really diverse. I think we're going to focus too as well. We want some great minorities on the show because there's a lot of disparities as far as minorities. There's a ton of minorities who are dealing with mental health. And I think, we as being a minority at times, we don't want to go get help. We think we could figure it out. At times we figure we could pray it away, right? You go to the church and you go in there and give it up to God and talk to the pastor and go home and you didn't heal anything. You didn't help anything, and it doesn't go away like that at times.
And I know you deal with alternative measures, which is really good. And that way people have options, especially, I don't know if it's applicable to those who do not want to accept help.
Yeah.
Like, how do you reach out to someone who you obviously know needs help, but they refuse help?
We're going to be filming in probably about 4 months, right? So we will encounter a few things. I mean, I deal with people, on other levels that you can tell that there's some mental health things going on, because we all suffer in a sense from mental health issues, right? It's just how severe. We all have our days and our ups and downs and our depression days and our sadness, and it's just really how we handle it. So I deal with a lot of people, even family members. I think my mother suffers from a rare disease, and I think one of the first times that I actually really took it serious after she had it a couple of years, because it's a silent disease, and it's when she said something about taking her own life, and I'm like, oh, that's not from this strong-willed Jamaican woman. That's and then my son has some bouts of depression too as well, and things like that. So, but even if you look at my mother, there's potential some treatments that she can have, and she's really to the point now where she doesn't. It's like I could say, hey, I got a cure for this. I would have to literally drag her out the house and fight with her to try to get her there. I think she's lost hope. And I think obviously that's mental health. She's in the house almost 99% of the time by herself. So you can imagine sitting in a house night and day, all day by yourself for years in severe pain. And now somebody says, I've got something that could help you. So it is difficult because you're like, listen, let's try this. And she comes up with some excuse or doesn't seem motivated. So it's very difficult trying to get some people help who are dealing with some things that especially mental health related.
That's true. That's why we really appreciate people like you and organizations that never stop, because you're the one actually reaching out to these people. And I still believe that there may be 100 people who will not want to accept or reach out, but a few of them will. And for as long as we can save lives, even right before they take their own life, for example, then you did something really, really priceless. And like your show, I really, we're a small network, but we always believe that Any
Mhm.
voice is always big enough and powerful enough.
Of
And
course.
we really all want to watch out for episode 2. What can they expect from episode 2?
I think this is going to be by far our most powerful season. Dr. Denise is our star doctor on the show, and she is full of energy. She's got a personality that just blows off the screen. I think she in herself is going to bring so much to the series. The way she deals with patients, the way she deals with other experts. Carl is one of our experts too, as well, one of our house mentor. He's in himself lived with mental health issues. I think he's going to have a tremendous amount to bring. He's also an African American. So we're going to see that side of being able to treat, which we probably don't see too often. I think the conversations are going to be unbelievable because you got to remember,
Wow.
when you look at someone like Mia and what she's gone through, when you look at some of what the guests have gone through, who what they're living with. I mean,
Wow.
this is nothing that is going to be scripted. This is going to be, when we start talking about the business of treatment, I think that's a conversation that also needs to happen, right? Because, just like a lot of these other conditions, there seems to be hundreds of millions floating around and very little advocacy, very little awareness, and little to no inspiration. And
That's
these people need help. If you look at diabetes, I mean, it's almost as if diabetes is silent. There's no PSAs, there's no billboards, there's nothing that says, "Hey, we care," and that's a drop in the bucket to some of these companies. The same with let's say HIV or sickle cell. I would love to do a show on sickle cell. Every time I'm signed up to a few Facebook groups on Facebook, and every time, I'm not even joking, every time I look or see a post from sickle cell, it's some young Black person who is in the hospital or dying or dead from sickle cell. So, and once again, I have never seen any ads or commercials for sickle cell. So it's one of those things where, especially with mental health, like I said, with so many people suffering from it, there should be a ton of commercials. There should be ads running all the time on Facebook, even if it's just, it doesn't always have to be a company trying to make some money, but it could be, listen, we believe and we support you, and we're here for you. Call and let us try to help. And that's one of the biggest issues that I have, working these shows, because I own the show, kind of like what Tyler Perry is, where he owns his own shows. And so I don't have big networks to go to fund this. I have to kind of get out here and borrow from Peter to pay Paul and try to figure out what companies that we can tie into. And I want to say it's almost the saddest thing at times, because you would think that these companies would be jumping. If you're into mental health and you have a company that's raising money or treating people for mental health, you would think they would do backflips to say, man, how could we get involved? How could we be a part of this?
yeah.
But unfortunately, man, I knock on doors and it's like pulling teeth.
Wow.
And not saying we're not getting there, but it's one of those things where you're very surprised that in these condition states and these people who are making millions, that it's so hard to try to get a project out there that's really about giving and sharing and saving lives, that you would have such a fight to get this done.
Wow. You have such a huge task in front of you. And for people like you, we just always pray that you stay the course, right? You hang in there and don't give up on everyone, because obviously those who are affected, like you live through this, are the ones who will be more than willing to do
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
get out of your way, take that extra mile and help people. And I am so glad to be speaking with you. And I wish we had more time. But as I told, by the way, Randy Winter, thank you so
Randy, we
much
got
for
to say,
connecting. Yeah, you're the best. Thank you for connecting me with Charles. I would never have known until I checked his bio. Oh my gosh, this is, wow. I am so privileged that you joined me. You're such a busy man and you took this time.
I appreciate it, and thanks for thinking of me and giving us a platform to be able to get this message out there, because it's not about me at all. It's really about those who are suffering. I'm just trying to leave my little legacy, man, as somebody who came here and left something and brought something to other people's lives. So.
And you are doing such a great thing for everyone who hears you, like I'm hearing you now, and for our audience and for the world. You never know how much you've touched someone's life until you actually started to open up.
We're going to make it happen one way or the other.
Thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your knowledge and your show. We are so looking forward to it. You're doing such a great job, Charles.
Can I lift you up and spin you around?
Sure. I hope I won't be rejected from the group
Sure.
here.
So emotions are raw, are fast.
This is what God wanted for the camera to capture us.
So many emotions that you can't even identify.
We're going to change some lives. We're definitely going to change some lives.
I loved her. Like, I gave my heart. I gave my heart to her.
Until we actually give ourselves a chance to heal or accept treatment, we'll never really know how much chance we have to live again. Have faith. Be kind. Be compassionate. Share your story. Don't be afraid to speak up. We're all in this together. Bye for now.